All right. Today's beginning of our start of celebrating, in my opinion.
Yes.
Okay.
We hope very much so.
I'll also congratulate before we start Steve Cully on being the person who predicted most accurately in our Price is Right scoring thing. And I guess for that, maybe I should go and do some push-ups for being the worst far as
I decided I want some stock options in your company. I want to buy some stock. I deserve stock options.
There is no stock. It's one guy owned it. You can have stock. I could create stock for you within the LLC. Would you like that?
I'd like some stock options. Okay. Yes, I'd like private playing. Yep. I want some.
You might be better off talking to our guests to try to get some stock options out of him.
I don't know anything about that.
It might be better off for you in the long run. I'm just saying, like for your career, I'm a serial entrepreneur that could crash and burn for you, Steve. So
I know.
Steve,
but listen, we have a great guest on who needs no introduction, but I will introduce him once again. Mike Burton, who obviously was a star football player at Uconn, but he also now runs our collective Bleeding Blue. And
Store Central,
correct?
I just signed up for Store Central.
Yep, and I think that those two things are going to start to really have a lot more success, riding off of exactly what you said, Mike. Right, winning gives us an opportunity, but we gotta get after it. We can't just let that be what does it. We got to get after it and make it happen. But we're great to have, it's great to have you on and talk about this gigantic win. Steve, what was the final score again? Because I know you wanted
47-3.
47-3. What I say about Buffalo? We always beat.
We always take care of Buffalo. It's always good when Buffalo comes to town.
Has Buffalo ever beaten us? I'm just curious.
Yes.
They have. Okay.
2001 they beat us.
2001.
They beat us in 14 as well, I think, which was the last time we played them. So yeah, we had it going for a long time, and then I think we slipped up a few times, but we're clearly back on track.
Yeah, they mentioned the International Bowl where we beat them pretty good in 2009.
Yep.
And we lost in 2001, and that's when we actually thought Randy was going to get fired after that one. And we managed to turn things around. And it was always good when Buffalo came to town.
And in 2014, even though we may have been short of time, that must have been when Lance Leopold was. I'm guessing. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like
he wasn't there yet. It was Turner Gill.
Turner Gill.
Yeah, well, another good coach. Yeah.
What happened? Where's Turner Gill now?
He was down south.
Citadel.
I thought he was at Citadel.
He's an administrator at Arkansas.
He is okay.
Interesting. It's so interesting. You always got to look it up if the name you haven't heard it in a while in football.
Well, Nebraska was a death sentence. He went to Nebraska and got fired.
Oh, that's right. He took the head coaching job in Nebraska after Buffalo.
Yeah.
And that's why Lance Leopold came in there. Okay.
Les Miles came after Turner Gill.
At where?
Kansas.
Turner Gill, Kansas. I thought
Turner Gill went to Kansas from Buffalo, and then he got fired at Kansas, and they brought Les Miles in.
That's right.
And then they brought Lance Leopold in from.
That's interesting. Buffalo. So they brought in two guys from Buffalo.
Yeah.
That ended up being, that's interesting.
Well, Lance Leopold was a D3 guy.
Yeah, Wisconsin Whitewater.
He won several Division III national championships, and then he did well at Buffalo, and then they took him at Kansas, and he turned Kansas around.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, he's a great coach. Well, it's an amazing win. If you're just curious why Steve has sunglasses on, like he's like a BMX biker.
Because the scoreboard was going off so much that my
light was going off, so he needs shade.
too bright from my eyes. I had to put sunglasses on. We scored again.
Yes, and I have to. It must be one of the biggest margins in quite a while.
I love that Joe Fignano is destroying Orlovsky's records. Orlovsky's going to have a coronary.
What? Isn't that your boy?
Yeah. But I still like to, shove it up his ass when I can. But yeah. He
So talk about the game, Steve, and Mike. Talk about, so obviously Nick played and then Fagano. So talk about that, obviously, because what Fagano did.
we talked about it, the sliding, and he slid the way that we had assumed he was taught not to slide, and I see why, because he got kneed right in the head. It didn't look like he took a bad shot. It looked like he got more of an ankle to the head.
Okay.
But they took him out, and Joe came in, and like the first throw would have been a touchdown if he hit it. He had the guy wide open, but he fired a rocket. It was like a laser, and it just was through the guy. But once he settled down, it was okay. He limits your running game because you can't do a lot of the zone read stuff with him. He's not a runner.
Yeah, to me, it was more of the same, right? It was FAU just continuing on. You look at this offense and their ability to run the football. It's nearly 700 yards in 2 games. It's like 675 yards of rushing in 2 games.
Yeah,
like those numbers are insane. And I think the group that's probably getting not enough credit, like it always is, the offensive line. These guys have done a really good job of locking people up. And that's the foundation of who we are. It's kind of back to what we were probably in 2008, 9, 10, 11. But we can throw the ball. But running at our core, that's what we are. We're big up front. We got guys that are 6'7". I think our shortest guy's like 6'4", and they're all 300 plus, and they're huge. And they're getting better. I think going into the year, we knew we had the tackles.
Yeah,
but the interior was just unknown because they hadn't played very much. And these guys are getting better. And I think that's the overall theme here. It's just like you look at this team 5 weeks ago coming out of Maryland, and we're all, and then some people are looking at each other like, what's going on here? But if you take a step back and say, listen, it's the first time coordinator on offense and defense at Uconn, first time quarterback, a lot of firsts, a lot of new kids together, and you're seeing the progression of what's going on. And I tell you, it's super exciting. And the kid, it's, and I think NIL is probably getting a little too much credit right now. I think the kids are working really hard.
They're having fun. They're definitely buying in, and they've
completely bought into Coach Moore and what he's doing, and he keeps them level. And then you infuse that kind of mentality with some incremental talent, like a Skylar Bell.
Absolutely.
I mean, all of a sudden you got a game last year we're probably struggling to hang in there, or it's a tight game, is something that looks like, people have seen the ticker across the TV and saying, what's going on here? And that's great. We love that.
Yeah, they have 2 running backs right now over 300 yards, and that's Robinson and Mel Brown. Cam's at 280. They're all averaging, Robinson's averaging 8.6 yards a carry. Mel Brown's 5.5, Cam's 5.7. And then Evers is averaging 4.1. So, and then you have Victor Rosa, who hasn't played as much. He's averaging 7 yards a carry. So, they already have 1,200 yards on the season rushing, which is great.
I think, it's phenomenal. I think that's the biggest thing. There's multiple backs that are doing the job and averaging tremendous yards per carry. That is 100% credit, not just to the backs, but there's really the offensive line. I think what's so interesting too about, Fagano to me is, and I'm just looking at his career as a quarterback, and it kind of,
and he's got 10 touchdowns and 1 interception. So
right. He showed that, I guess, even when he was young. But this is his sixth. This is his sixth year.
Correct.
I think there's something to be said at the quarterback position, but maybe even in college football in general. If you're not already physically there, look at a guy like Fagano, who's been around. This is his 6th year, and he's able to really do things that are fantastic because he now understands the game at a different level and can step right in and I mean, he threw 3 touchdowns to Skylar Bell. I mean, Skylar Bell had 160
Yeah,
yards.
he is something else. In Sheffield, they got him going.
Yeah.
Well, I always think a seasoned quarterback, like he knows if he's good enough, he knows where to go to the ball, go with the ball when you need to be able to get things done, right? And I thought, me and you talked about this, Steve, from the get-go, that the one guy I thought against Maryland that was explosive to me was Skylar Bell.
Yeah, he had the 2 big
right,
yeah.
And he was able to do it right away against in a tough situation against really good competition. And now, I mean, he's starting to come into his own. So I think it's really, really interesting. Look, the beauty of it all, I guess, is that we got 2 quarterbacks that are very good. That is a luxury to have, because that's very, very and I hope Nick Evers is okay, and hopefully he's able to come back. I think after getting a second situation like this, I always look at it like, this one you got to really make sure you
hand
look
it
at.
off. They got to cut down on the zone.
You got to look at all the things that are necessary, make sure everything's good to go, and also say, hey, when you do come back, like if you run the ball, like this is when you got to get down, and this is where you got to put yourself in the right situation. And you talked about it, Mike, as far as the way to slide and one of the things that are important there. But yeah, I mean, the positive is we've got 2 quarterbacks that could do the job, and Fagano goes in and is able to chuck it around. I guess probably for you, Steve, he runs more of the Uconn offense that we're used to, right?
I like that. Yeah.
That you've seen with that Orlovsky ran, that Shane kind of. I mean, they're different offenses, nuances, but
with
that
Evers,
of quarterback, Matt, even going back to Matt DeGennaro, like it's they can throw the ball if you need them to throw it 40 times, but the run game is still the core tenement of the offense.
Well, what's tough is with Evers, they were doing some zone read, but they were reading the 3 technique, the defensive tackle. So when you do that, and the D tackle tackles the running back, the quarterback has what's called a hard pull, and he doesn't go outside. He replaces the running back. So that's why he was running inside, and he got hit by the linebacker.
See, that's old midline that used to run under center.
It is,
yeah. It's just midline, and that 3 tech closes, you pull. But it's funny because under center, it's actually, and I've run it as a high school coach. I've run it, and the thing that always makes me nervous about it, even when I was coaching high school and doing it here and there with my guys, it always made me nervous because if you get a D tackle that is a 3 tech, that's a dude.
Yeah, you can play both.
And just says, I'm just going to take the court. Yeah. He could now. It's not even just playing both. Like he can take shots. Yeah. He could take shots at your quarterback very easily and not get penalties for it, right? Because you're attacking the mesh, right? You're just really attacking the mesh point, and you can really take shots at the quarterback, and it's not necessarily going to be a penalty because it's just an error. It's an error on the read by the defensive tackle. So I always think now under center, it's not quite. Contrary to what people think, under center, which is why Navy and Army run it a lot of times like that, it's not quite as dangerous because you don't have to catch the snap.
Yeah. Right.
In shotgun, you got to catch the snap. Even though most of these guys now are much better at being able to glance, it's not the same as when you go under center and you step back and you're looking at him.
Yeah, your eyes are right towards him.
Looking at him, if you make the mistake on the read and the guy tackle hits you, you're able to duck under, maybe not get hit the same exact way. But at shotgun, if you're slow with it, you're going to take a shot. Like, there's no way around it. There's no way around it.
He read it right, and he got 5 yards on the carry. It was just.
But you're going to take shots.
Yeah.
You're going to take shots, whether it's the linebacker. Look, and this is what you teach too. Okay, now we want the QB to pull because the running backs are averaging 9 yards a carry. D tackle, tack the running back on the mesh. Linebacker come over the top, crush the quarterback, right? Yep. So you teach that. I mean, you teach that defensively.
Chase and replace. Chase and replace, it's called. Yep.
Exactly. So it's nothing wrong with the scheme. when it works, like you see Ole Miss do it, he does it with his guys. And you see Jackson Dart run for 50 yards.
We did it at Colgate. Yeah, Colgate runs that a lot.
Yeah, I just think that it's a dangerous play that you don't want to have it as your mainstay. You really want that as like
it's usually a check.
Very rare instance, and I think that's the difference with what like Ole Miss does. And I also think it probably is a little difficult in the sense that you also kind of have two slightly different offenses with the two guys. It's the same offense, same calls, but philosophically of what you're trying to do, which can be difficult. Amazingly, though, the offensive coordinator has done a phenomenal job with it.
Well,
saying he really has done a phenomenal job. It takes a very, very talented offensive coordinator to be able to manage two quarterbacks that are slightly different. Because most people just are going to recruit, and it's just kind of what we had, but most people are going to recruit the same guy over and over again, whether he's a starter or a backup. It's the same guy. It's just who's better. Here you kind of have two different guys. I think he's doing a phenomenal job. He immediately adapted when Fagano went in. I mean,
and Mike was right too. With Mike mentioned the outside zone, they ran outside zone pretty well.
Yep.
And I don't like running it out of the gun, and they run it very well out of the gun as a cut play, and they got some good flow, and the backs know how to read it pretty well. The line is good with turning people out and covering them up and not giving up penetration, which opens up lanes. I was impressed with that. And then, just the explosiveness of their receivers is something we have not had before.
No.
So, Skylar Bell is averaging 23 yards a catch. It's amazing. He's got 4 touchdowns. And Sheffield, they got him going. He now has 15 catches on the year. And, it's just really impressive to see. And then it's a balanced attack. They really spread the ball around. And Fagano with 10 touchdowns. That's amazing already.
Yeah, and don't lose sight of the fact that this is his first. This is a smart guy.
Yes.
Coach Mora told us, he goes, listen, I'm going to tell you, this is like one of the smartest football minds that we've ever had. And this is his first year. He's a line coach, right? So, for him to transition into this role, and he transitions not just like in December. It was like in March. It was a week before spring ball. He transitioned into this role.
He looks like
and to have this level of success. And I think there's a play to highlight here, and it's the first touchdown where they have 2 linebackers at Buffalo that are pretty good. That number 2 is excellent, by the way. Red Murdoch, his name is. He's a sophomore. That kid's like a real dude. And they have another guy, number 56, who I think is leading the country in tackles. And what they did is he out schemed him. He went three guys to the right on the outside.
Yep.
And he ran outside zone left, and which made the linebacker, who was their best defender, have to cover an inside the slot on the right. And so he's
right by himself. Yep.
He's out scheming them, which is great to see that too. When you have that combination, it's impressive to see Coach Samus and what he's been able to do in a short period of time. It's really impressive from a line coach, and a lot of line coaches have trouble with this transition. Yep. I talked to Steve Adazio, who was the offensive line coach at Florida, then went to OC at Florida, and he told me point blank, it is hard. Like it is such a confluence of
toughest position
you're doing. And he still coaches the O-line, Coach Samuelson too. So it's not like he just gave that up to someone else is working with him, but I went to a practice where he's spending like 3/4 of his time with the linemen, and then he's looking back to the quarterback. So like this juggling act is not easy, and so far it's been very, very impressive.
But I do think the line coaches are the smartest guys on the field because they know all the blocking schemes, they know the protections, they know the routes, they know the path of the running back, they know the running game inside and out. If I was going to hire an offensive coordinator, I'd hire an O-line coach all day. So
I think the thing that is really, really the difference maker on an offensive line coach to be successful as a coordinator, they have to be adaptable. Okay. Yep. And so the limitation sometimes you get with an offensive line coach who then goes and tries to become offensive coordinator is not successful is that they don't adapt to what has to get done with the skill guys in the scheme. So they understand the line blocking, they understand what can be done, and they're so fixated on it that they don't adapt to the things that have to be done offensively. When you get an offensive line coach that has that, a la Andy Reid, right? When you get a guy that does understand adaptability, is adaptable, is creative, an offensive line coach that is willing to be creative, then you really have a dangerous guy, because having coached the offensive line, like I always said, and I think I told Steve this, the greatest year of being when I was an assistant, the greatest year of coaching, the most biggest learning I ever had was the thing that helped me my most in coaching career was when I had to coach the offensive line.
Yeah.
The year I had to coach the offensive line, I was thrown into the fire. Now I understood why things were getting done up front. Before you're just kind of dialing up plays, right? And you're dialing up situations. Once you understand the offensive line, you understand the different ways things have to get done and how to be able to block things and then how to adapt to what they might be doing.
Yeah.
You combine that, an offensive line coach who can then combine that with creativity is a guy that's going to be on a fast path to a lot of success. I mean, really, really, because everybody knows that the guy who coaches the offensive line, if he could have those skill sets, he is on his way to being a phenomenal coach. I mean, like high level, because the hardest thing for most coaches who are skill guys to understand outside of maybe a quarterback is the offensive line. I think that's the thing that limits a lot of coaches when they're moving up, is that they don't understand. They have to get a great offensive line coach because they don't understand offensive line play, and it ultimately can limit their play calling ability. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this guy is really has an opportunity to be successful. I think that the outside zone play, under center versus in gun.
I hate it out of the gun.
The quarterback doesn't have to worry about reading anything when he's handing off from outside zone. So
I don't like the path of the back because he's got to go diagonal and then make the cut. I like the
back is reading the outside contain guy. So he's reading the contain guy and he's taking his path either inside or out based off of that. So even though his path might be slightly different, I don't really.
It's supposed to be 1-by-1 outside of the tight end. That's how they.
But the read is still the same read. So
if you're going to read it, yes, the read is still
the back reading whether he continues to go outside.
Yes.
So all you're reading on outside zone is
I just don't like the path.
The guy shows up the field on you. You're going to cut up, right?
Correct.
If the guy shows stayed, not moved, you just continue sprinting, right? So.
Correct.
So it shouldn't be a huge deal. You just like most guys who like it under center better, like the boot action you get better.
Well, I like the pin and pull too. I don't always like the full zone, outside zone blocking. I like to block down with the tight end, pull the tackle, pull the center. I think that works out of a 3-by-1 set, and then you can do your RPO off of it as well. That's how I used to run.
Well, if you're tackle on the front side. And if he's going against a wide 5 or whatever, that's the guy. And whether you chip with the tight end or whatever you do to seal that down or at least get length on it, right? He doesn't need to seal it per se. He just needs to keep it going out. And so this running back
can't give up penetration.
Yeah, and to me it was always the front side guy is critical, but it's always that backside guard and that backside tackle who sometimes has to scoop up to the linebacker.
We got to get the reach.
Those guys are the ones that can make touchdowns happen. And I think for us, if you watch it again, and I'm going to
show it for you. I'm going to show it for you if we can.
Yeah.
So we could see. You're talking about the first touchdown, right?
Yeah. Watch the first touchdown but look at the schematic of it, and we just go away from it. So we go. Yeah, you can see that trips right look right.
I'll back it up a little bit.
Yeah, look at the trips right, and look what it does. That inside linebacker, it pushes him out, one of their best tacklers.
Yeah, he's got to widen.
He's wide. They actually have 4 over 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 over 3.
Yep.
Yeah, they got numbers.
Essentially. So, right, like, so, I mean, he could have. He made a great run and it became a touchdown because he got himself outside. But if you watch this, when he takes this, the one thing about now the one block on the front side wasn't great, but he picked it up. But the one thing about coming downhill slightly, you could see that there's a block there, right, on the outside before he comes to the free runner. If he just puts his foot in the ground and goes straight, he's going to get a huge gain.
Yeah, you stick it
right, like right there.
Yeah,
like he's got a huge gain. He makes a decision. I actually think it's a tougher cut. He makes a phenomenal run.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely a tougher cut. Like most backs, 9 out of 10 backs are going to put their foot in the ground and get north and south. And you probably would. This is probably one of those coaching points. Was phenomenal run, great touchdown. A lot of times you're going to have to go downhill and get the 8 yards or 7 yards because you're going to get it, But
Dave, pause it right back 2 seconds. The good news here, and I think this is the part of the line, is
they got it all walled off. Yeah,
it's a one-on-one play now.
Yep,
everything
that's
else
how it's designed.
So the tackle, the guy got penetration in the end on the tackle. So, but he was able to get outside of it. So that's a wash. Everyone else is man on man, and he's just got one-on-one with that guy on the edge now. And I tell you what. If you get one-on-one situation with a back who's 210, who's physical and angry, you're gonna win probably more than you lose. But Dave, you're right. There's 2 options here. There's the easy way, the hard way. It depends on how you're feeling and who you're going against. But man, oh man, this is when he finishes here. This is impressive.
Yeah, I don't think
it's a phenomenal run. This is an absolutely phenomenal run. Because he breaks outside. I mean, it's a stiffer. Look, it's a DB on a running back. You're right. Like he knows the DB's going to go low, right?
Yep.
It really is. What a great finishes too. I mean,
that's Cam. Yeah, you just feed him. He's the guy.
He is the lead horse for us, guys. He is the guy. I think he was a little nicked up. I think he had this at 20 carries against FAU and probably a little worn out, but he came back this week. He is the guy in that backfield. And I know we got more, which is great, but that's the guy. Dave, another play, maybe if we can get to it. I don't know if it's right there, but what I thought was great execution. I give Joe a lot of credit for this one. Was the last touchdown to Skyler, and it was schematic. And this is a good schematic design, I think, by Gordy, and great execution by Joe. As far as we'll show it and you'll see, but he looks off the defender and pumps to the left and comes back inside on a slant. Yeah. And it was just beautifully executed. And you got to think at that point in the game, the kid already has 2 touchdowns on you. And, maybe you may want to put someone else, besides an inside linebacker or an outside linebacker on him. But he just continues to – and I just think it's great design by the coordinator and great execution by the players in that play.
I'm going to pull that up for you. Let's see, we got it here.
Yeah, the scheme that they're running is very, very good. They're very diverse with their sets and their motions.
Yeah,
they're multiple. I love their tight end. I like the splits that they have the receivers at. They can tighten you up. They can widen you out. I like the bunch sets. I love the.
How about the perimeter blocking, though, by the receivers? And I think that,
they all block. Yeah.
Skyler Bell, and I went to him after the FAU game because he had a couple. They had him, literally just outside the tight end, and he came in and sealed. So he's like an inline blocker. And this kid, he's 6'1". I don't know what he weighs. He's probably 200 pounds, 205. And he fits on people, and he also fights to the end. And I think even on that last run, we saw number 4, Isaiah Gathing. That kid had a nice block at the end and finishing there. So, and that's tough when you're out there as a receiver because you are on an island and you are so vulnerable to being called for holding. And I think these guys, the block, and you can see they have the DNA of our coordinator.
I have this is the last touchdown. I'll get the other one, the pass that you're talking about. But this is a good example of the zone. Okay. It's just more like run like a jet, but where it's the same block. He puts his foot in the ground.
Yeah, and he sticks it.
There it is. There. See how he puts his foot in the ground?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And see, that's what. So now the guy, those actually two guys, they have it blocked, right? But if he continues on, potentially those guys can come off the block and make the tackle on them.
And there's the Store Central sign.
But yeah, there it is. Store Central.
There it is,
There's a
baby.
plug right there. Beautiful. That's beautiful.
But look at the backside blocking. Look at 77 seal that off. Look at the front side guys. That's the thing that gets me so excited because it's happening all the time with these guys. They fight to the whistle, and they're giving these backs chances on every play to make that two-way cut, Dave.
And right, and now it's 1-on-1 with the safety. I mean, forget it. The thing that's great about these backs is they're and I'll get the other one. Let me just pull it up. Is that one-on-one? Obviously, those are the backs that you want to give the ball to, but one-on-one, it's hard to make the tackle on our guys one-on-one, and I think that's how you put 40 points on the board. Honestly, like. If you got a back that's grinding it out and is not able to make guys miss all the time in 1-on-1, it's going to be hard to score a lot of points. But that doesn't mean you can't win the game. It doesn't mean you can't bleed the clock, that type of stuff. But when guys make people miss, I mean, really make people miss consistently, those are the teams that can win a lot of games. Like when you put on an SEC game, right? Which I don't know if you watch the Alabama-Georgia game.
Oh, yes.
What a game.
I mean, it's those guys are making other great players miss. It's incredible, and I think you're starting to see that with us. Which I think this is the pass play. I think that you're talking about.
We had 280 yards passing, 257 yards rushing. So to have that kind of balance is amazing. 537 total yards.
Yeah, this is it right here.
This is it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you got I think we do a nice job. So now it's trips. It looks like 1-on-1, right?
I think Bell's in the mid there.
They're nuts playing man or whatever.
This is one of my favorite. The slant bubble or some version of it.
Or this.
You get that in I mean, it looks like they're playing man-to-man, but the Buff guys doesn't move. I mean, because the guy moves with the bubble, so it must be man-to-man.
Yep.
No, they were playing quite a bit of man, which I thought was nuts.
I mean, look how this guy's in a bind because he's not playing. They're playing levels, even though they're playing man, and the guy who's over the potential bubble screen is up front. I almost think that you're better off with your two guys on the receivers, the outside guys, up on them and
pressing
the bubble over the top.
He's got to be up,
But I mean, it may just be it may be something that we, and this again is a tribute to the offensive coordinator. Obviously he knows that this is how they're playing it, and this is your opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So the quarterback is in a great position. Because if they're playing some sort of zone, you're going to have the bubble all day, and then
they threw quite a bit. He threw to the receivers on bubbles or the blast inside screen. They did a nice job with that.
And it's almost pick action by Skyler on that look too.
Yep.
You can see how tight that is because that could set it up the other way. If he bumps them and he's just running his route, right? But he's running it at his outside shoulder.
That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
And then that back, if that's the case, then the back's going to be wide open. If not, and you got a safety who's flat-footed, honestly, right? And he's slow to react to a kid who already has probably 145 yards of catching, and I think 95 yards after catch. Yeah, like that's just great schematic design, I think, by Gordy. And look at that. That's his third one. Impressive stuff, guys.
That's what we call in offensive world stealing. You see that?
Right, stealing, yep.
This is stealing right here because it's just not the safety, the free safety over your best guy, and that's what you get. That's what I like about Skyler
3-by-1, yeah.
Well, not just 3-by-1, but with Skyler Bell, because he plays outside too, right? So
he does. They move him around.
Be able to move him around because he's not like he's good enough to play outside, but he's not super tall, right? He's quick and
he can run. Yeah.
Space, dude. He's a problem. So he's good enough to play on the outside, but you get him in the 3-by-1, and if he's that middle guy. I How are you covering him?
You don't have enough DBs.
Open.
You're going to have to go nickel. You're going to have to change your whole defense against a team that runs for 700 yards in 2 games. You're going to have to go nickel. Like, that doesn't work.
And he ran a couple double moves that were wide open, and I think Joe missed him on them. But I mean, he's great at running his routes. He's very good at making everything look the same. Very good at lowering his center of gravity, going into his cuts. I liked everything that I saw from him.
He's a tri-state kid. He's a Bronx kid. He wants to play, and he loved coming home, guys. This is great. His mom and dad get to go see him every weekend now, and he's showing out for them. Hey, Dave, I got some good news though, because during the game, Steve and I are texting, and then he had a concession though. Steve, do you want to admit to what you told me in the game about particularly the defense?
Oh God. Yeah, the defense figured it out. They look good.
Well, what about the 3-3-5? I hate the 3. Right. Stop it.
I hate it. Yeah, it works. All right, it works. He ran 50 different blitzes. They timed it up right. They disguised it well. It was all good. They did it. The coverages were well. I was very impressed from week 1 from the Duke game to here, where they were struggling to get lined up. They were getting lined up right. They were disguising the blitzes, and you didn't know if it was coming from the field or the boundary. You didn't know if it was coming up the middle. They ran a lot of cross acts with the nose going, and then the 2 linebackers coming inside. I mean, they brought 5 a lot, or they dropped the end. I mean, it's confusing. It works.
How about what I thought was a great play? And they held them to under 200 total yards.
Yes. Yep.
But watch, and I don't know, Dave, if you can pull it up or if we can do it. But it's probably the 3rd play of the game. It's their first 3rd down. Buffalo's first 3rd down. I think it's 3rd and 6. We run a zone look where I think our 3 tech or our nose guard literally bails out, tips the ball down, and we send 2 others from someone else.
Yeah, I got it right here.
And when you think about planning for that, guys, and I'm not even sure we've shown that this year until then, but it's so multiple. And I think that's what's great about the defense. He's like, you just never, Jelani Stafford, the guy's like 6'1", 320, and look at his ability to knock down a ball on a critical 3rd down early in the game.
So, and I think that you're 100% right. So, having coached the 3-3 for many years, coached the 3-5-3, having coached it where it evolved into a 3-4, the evolution of what you could do in a 3-5, if you got the right guy in place,
play it right. Yeah.
Yeah, you can look here. So you got 4, you got 6 coming here.
Yeah, but they disguise it so well.
And so they're baiting him. They're baiting that inside. Right. They want him to throw that ball, right?
Yeah, they get him to check to the 3-step, and they bluff him and get out of it. It's very, very, very well done.
That's the thing that gets your nose guard drafted. By the way, a play like that.
Is that the Tua guy? The Tua guy is unbelievable.
Yeah, Tua's great. There's a bunch of guys in defense, but that's Jelani Stafford. He is This is a kid who played at Youngstown, transferred in like 3 years ago, and he also plays fullback on short yardage.
Yes.
I'm telling you, he's 6'1", 305 and ripped. Like you think he's like, there's not a lot of fat on this guy. And he's got a great attitude, great motor. And to be able to take 2 steps forward, bail out on a 45-degree angle backwards, swat a ball down, and we'll have to give him some crap about not catching it. But I mean, I think that's pretty good. You take that.
No, he did great.
You got Dalmart Gardine, who's like our end. These guys are problems.
Yeah, that's special athleticism for a big guy. I mean, that's that like he made it look easy, but just knowing it's very hard for a defensive lineman to be able to drop and then to react to the ball in space and knock down the ball. It's not.
You know where you got to be and play like that for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's what you see as the top defensive lineman that they could do. A guy who could do that. That's what you see the NFL guys do. So here's another example of it, right? Where you could create confusion on the goal line here. Okay,
this is the one I was talking about. They bring the cross X up the middle. very difficult to stop. Interception, yeah.
And then they looks like they're having like a so they're in some version of man, but
that's a
Snoop
team.
is a free player. So that's where you get the interception. So even though
the difference with the way they blitz, most teams run cross X or whatever, and they'll play cover 33 behind it or 42. They'll play zone behind it. Rarely do you see teams blitz like this and play man.
Now this is an example. If you're not in this defense,
and they had the right call. They ran mesh. I mean, that's what you run.
This guy's open. This guy's open. This guy never sees the linebacker drop. He never sees him. I mean, you take this guy out of the mix, right? That's a touchdown.
Yeah, they had the right call. I mean, they ran.
The guy behind him is open. It's man to man. He got himself open. But the fact that this guy is, when the crossers drop, he's getting into space, which is this is well coached.
Yeah, very well.
Well,
they got a shitty rub on the match.
And this is after 3 quarters of getting it 100 different ways. So this quarterback is thinking, he doesn't know what to think at this point. He's had a whole dose of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're so multiple.
I mean, look at
how they play it. I mean, it's not what I expected.
They bring the motion over to push that safety back into the middle of the field, right?
Yeah, he always uses a lot of motion. He does a great job.
It makes room for the slant now.
Yeah,
it's schematics there.
He does a great job getting an extra guy and changing the coverage, and he does it in the run game too. I've never seen us use so many shifts and motions like he does. And
I mean, it's phenomenal play by the players, but also phenomenally schemed up. So both groups deserve tremendous credit.
198 total yards for Buffalo. I mean, that's amazing. 123 passing yards between 2 quarterbacks. They held on their 100 yards rushing, 75 yards. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah. This team's getting better every week. And I think
that
the tricky part, and you guys have been on teams that have been like this, where you've had success. You just can't let it get in your head. I don't
think they will.
No, I think it's because of the senior leadership. It's the Jelani Stafford, the Chase Lunds, the Dal Montgordines, the Val Sens. These guys they've been here for a while, and they haven't had a lot of success. Yeah. And they know they're in a position right now. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, talk about next week, but if we can win, we get to 4-2 into a bye week. And you're halfway through the year, you can get to 4-2, and that's the goal right now. That's a pretty good spot to be. So
we have Temple this week?
Temple this week, yep.
Yeah. Who just got smacked by Army or Navy?
Army.
I mean, Army's good this year, but they smacked them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think Buffalo beat Temple too. I got to look at that. Yeah. But you know how it is. Any given week, things can change. So this is
absolutely the run game
attitude.
Mike, did they give an update on Evers after the game? I just know that they said he was out.
Yeah, I listen. It's clearly a head injury. I think these things you don't know. Okay. You don't know until there's no update to give, except he's got to go through the protocol.
Yeah, You think he was diagnosed with a concussion? Or some sort of head injury.
I think I'm only taking from what I think it looked like there's some sort of head situation, and so
there's an article from the Current yesterday that they said.
Did you pay for it?
No, I don't pay for that. Sorry. That's my pride. That's my pride, Steve. Just I don't know if you have that same pride.
I would not pay for the Current.
My pride. Listen, I won't pay it for the Asbury Park Press anymore down here where I live. It's the same, the whole same thing. They'll pay. Well, I'm like, man, I won't pay for the Record, which is North Jersey, which is where, I grew up, and I still like to look at the football scores and stuff like that. And I'll just go on the internet because on Twitter or whatever, X or whatever, and get the scores or go to, there's a page that posts all the scores. I can't bring myself. No, I don't care that they're making it like $1, and then as soon as I click out, they'll tell you it's free for 30 days.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, you can't just get advertisers to pay for more of that than have to charge me $1. I don't know.
Well,
It's
yeah,
bothersome.
Temple's 1-3. I mean, they should be able to beat Temple. I think Buffalo's better than Temple.
I don't think Buffalo is that bad. I mean,
No, they're not. They're not.
I think they're probably a bowl team this year. They're 3-2. Can they win 3 of the next 7 games? Probably.
Absolutely.
So that's a team that's going to a bowl. And by the way, look at Duke. Duke is 5-0 now, guys.
Oh, Duke is one of the better teams in the ACC.
That was the game that I thought, like, to me, that and you mentioned it last week when they were down 17-0. They had the pick to the house that kind of shifted their mindset and got them back in the game. Actually, we were winning the game, but I they're coached by Manny Diaz, Duke, and we hung stride for stride with them, and we could have won that game. There's no doubt we could have won that game.
Yeah,
I think that it's like if you were to you talk to me after the Maryland game, like deep dark depression, close the nightshades, get me as much bourbon as possible, and then I'll wake up the next morning, hopefully, right? But that's to where I'm talking on the podcast before, and everybody knew it. Okay, I'm talking about Manny Matsakis and the guy that I host the podcast with there, and everybody. The Uconn's on the rise. We're like, we got to go in. We got to go in there. We got to get more money raised for NIL. We got to go talk Uconn right now. So that they were like, you better get on there. Get on there right now. So, but it's there's no doubt that the evolution. My biggest thing always from a coaching standpoint, and you guys might think this way too, Steve. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Week 1 to week 2 progress is the most important thing. It doesn't even matter if you win that week 2. Did you make progress from week 1 to week 2, right? Especially when you get it blown out like we did. We made huge progress from week 1 to week 2, okay? And that is setting the stage for now we're continuing to evolve, right? And it's one of those things where we're winning games, which is phenomenal. But at the beginning, the games were just getting in the way of our overall progress. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But the game, so you want to see overall progress, right? We beat up on Merrimack. We
played Duke tough.
We played Duke tough. We beat up on FAU. We beat up on Buff. You could see the progress from week to week for Maryland, which was basically we were feeling it out. It looked like to me like last year we weren't very good. Are we that same team? Oh, maybe we are. And then week 2, the progress was so tremendous that you saw what he coached them up to do and to improve. And that's why even though Duke we lost, we were
down 17-0. I mean, at half it could have been worse.
They changed the mindset. Yep. And I think since that interception, everybody's like, you know what? This is what it looks like as an outside observer. Obviously, I'm an alumni, but as an outside observer, it looks to me from that point of that interception, the team said, we can hang with these teams. We are good enough to win games.
Yeah, the confidence.
We're good enough. Maybe we could be great. Duke was one of the top teams last year, okay, in the country, top 20 team in the country. Right, was talked about as maybe being a playoff team at one point, right?
They fell off late, but they were.
No, but that's what people were talking about them being a playoff team, and that's the fact that we came out of there. Nobody likes to lose, but you come out of there and you go, you know what? We have something. If we can build on this,
the moral victory.
Yeah, but it's to your point, Steve. It's sometimes it's just one moment because you And it's funny, after the first game, one of the top players sent a note out, and he's like, guys, he sent a note to me and the other guy who work on the football side of the collective, and he goes, trust me, we have a good team. I promise you, we are a good team. And sometimes it just takes a moment to see it. Sometimes you got to see it. And once you see it as a team, you start believing it. And then you get momentum. And now we're starting to – it's a snowball effect, and we're starting to build it. And we just got to make sure we stay in the right lane here because the opportunity here is really good this week to get a win
Big time.
And to get to 4-2. That's all we care about. Get to 4-2, get to the bye, get healthy.
Yes.
And then get ready for and by the way, the bye sets up perfectly this year. Like, how often do you get it like week 3 bye? You're just like, God, we don't even need it right now. And sometimes you're 2-0 and you're like, man, I wish we'd keep going. But if you can get to 4-2, you can take a deep breath.
Yeah.
You just take a deep breath, you relax, you get people healthy, and you start going right at it, because I don't want to get too far ahead, but we know what's right after that bye week.
Yeah.
It's Wake Forest. And by the way, who lost this week to Louisiana. The Raging Cajuns. So, like, we're in a position here where every goal and aspiration we wanted going into this year is still right in front of us. It's very achievable. And I think we're starting to get some national attention. We need to get more fans in the seats.
Which they'll come.
Yeah, and we need them to come this week. It's going to be nice. It's a 3:30 game. The weather looks good. I think, listen, this is a place we got to start picking up here.
I got all my friends coming. We're coming.
Good. Well, tell your friends to bring friends, but we need more people, and we need the students to be there too. And at 3:30, there's no excuse for them not to be there.
Fire up the buses, man. They should only at 3:30. They should be perfectly situated. Been drinking since 12. Ready to go. Get on the bus. Yep. You know what I mean? Get on the bus. Hop on down there. Don't get anybody's car if you've been drinking. But get a bus. Get a ride down there. I think we should start. You know what, Burton? If we start to get the collective in the right direction, that might be something the collective may eventually have to start figuring out how to fund. Right? Get university reimbursement. We'll front end that university reimbursement.
School does the buses now, believe it or not. But you want more of a party bus kind of scenario.
Party bus. I'm talking about.
I know what you're looking for.
I asked for a tent for a tailgate, and I couldn't get that.
Yeah, well,
I asked for a tent for a tailgate. It was $15,000. Phil said. So I hope they do more buses.
Well, the good news is, Steve, I don't think it's going to rain, so you should be good.
I know. I'm happy about that. But it's Temple's 1-4. They lost to Army 42-14. Their only win was against Utah State. They lost to Coastal, Navy, and Oklahoma. So it should be a good matchup for us.
But to take the contrarian view there, and I'm only going to do this because I don't want anyone getting their head too big, including my own. Yeah. That's a desperate team. Like, this is you're 1-4. Like, you go 1-5, it's like you're losing the whole locker room. So, like, this is their last stand.
Yeah, yeah.
And the coaching staff is going to be probably fired if they don't win, because they've been there for a couple of years now. Yeah, and they're going in the opposite direction if they don't win. So they are going to put. They're going to try and get every ounce out of them they can. Those players, because they're not just coaching. The players are not just playing because they're desperate, but the coaches may be in a little bit of desperation, right? So, So I think if we could weather the storm early on, I think we could really take it to them. I think you're gonna have to get through that first quarter and a half, and you're gonna have to break them. And if you break them, I think then the dam will the dam will open up, and we'll be able to do a lot what we did this last week. But which I think that's one of the things that we're starting to get better at, like evolving to get a little bit of faster start, But once we got rolling, I mean, holy cow! I mean,
Mike, have they had recruits up every weekend? Have they been doing okay? They have not. Okay.
No, they have. Yes, absolutely.
They have. Good. Okay.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of stuff on X about a bunch of the kids there, and what a great time to see what's going on there.
Good.
Yeah, I would anticipate the good news about the stretch is you get, you're in good weather part of the year. You get 6 straight games at home. Get a lot of people there as far as recruiting, and hopefully get a lot of it done.
Well, because the December signing day, you got to do a lot of your official visits in the fall, because the first signing date's in December. And
a lot of them in the summer, Steve, believe it or not.
I know a lot of them commit. Oh, they do officials in the summer?
Yeah, they do a bunch of different ways now.
Oh, wow.
I got to remember how it's done, but it's not the traditional recruiting cycle that we're used to.
I know that. I did that. That's rough.
Yeah, or they'll come in the spring. I got to remember how it works exactly, but it's a whole different animal.
I'll say this too, which is the winning. Not only should we do really well with high school recruits, which is good, which we need to do, but we're going to be able to command some transfers
Oh, easily.
that'll be very interested as well if it keeps rolling the way it is, because
The guys are happy, they're playing, and they're successful.
yeah, I mean Skylar Bell's going to be on the phone, you know what I mean, and I'm not saying you should be. I'm not saying he should be on the phone.
Are you saying I'm going to have to deal with Skylar?
Yeah. No. I don't mean that. I mean with his teammate, like ex-teammates at other places.
Yeah,
no, exactly right. And no, that's it. Like,
yes,
it's a great. I'm telling you, and I got to see it firsthand now. There is, and it's amazing how word of mouth works. And we talked about this last week. It's like a coach can tell these kids anything, but when they hear it from a guy who's been there for a year, who's in their exact shoes a year earlier, like that's as good as it gets from an endorsement standpoint. So yeah, you're right. And us being able to go out and these kids all have friends, and that once they enter the portal, they'll talk to them and tell them what we got going on here. And we're raising money now. These next few, listen, we got to have a bunch of money ready to go for December. This portal opens the 9th. So we got these winning, as I told everyone, winning will solve all of our problems.
Yes.
I'm getting calls from people, and you guys are, like you said, Dave, you're hearing from people now. Like I'm hearing there's a lot of alumni that are like excited. Yeah. They want to be part of a winner. They want to be associated with winning. And they're far more apt to give money when you're winning than when you're losing. So it all works together.
I listen, I was they called me, because I wasn't a captain, which is still sticks in my crawl to this day. But I
thought you were, Dave. I thought you were.
Yeah, this is a quick story. Not that it really matters, but this is a quick story from Vernon Hargraves to me. This is exactly what he said to me. But he said it in a really, really, like, he was being kind and trying to be like, you should have been a captain. But I don't know if you were there, but my junior year, I had to sit out with a back injury. I didn't play the whole year, and they didn't think I was going to come back. And then I came back, and obviously I played. But they thought I wasn't going to be able to come. Originally, I was ruled out, like, for my career, And so when they got voted into captain, my redshirt junior year, because that was the year I came back from, I didn't start because I moved from fullback to linebacker. I didn't start till the end of my junior year.
Yeah.
And then obviously senior year, I started all the games, but I didn't start until that point. And it was interesting. Even though I was playing like 30 plays, 25, 30 plays a game, I wasn't a start. I was the fourth linebacker for most of the year. And so Hargrave, when they I don't remember how they did the captains back then with Skip, but I just remember it was like
they vote.
They said it was a vote, okay, but I never really bought that. I always think, like, I was a coach for so many years, I let guys vote too, and then I pick the guys I want. You know what I mean? But he came over. He said, "Hey, listen," he's like, "You would have been a captain, except that you had been out that year, and I think that held you back from being a captain." But it was almost like he was saying to me that you probably got voted in a captain, but Skip went and just picked two guys for different reasons. And I always thought, even though I was really one of the leaders on that team, even though I wasn't, but I always thought it held our team back because that team underachieved, in my opinion, because we were ranked high in the beginning. But I think it held our team back, even though I love they're friends of mine. I think they needed another guy who was a strong leader to be able to connect with some of the younger players, not just the older players, but the young. And I always thought that I had a connection with your group and the groups behind them, where I had a certain level of respect. You know what I mean? Not just because I was a football player, but how I carried myself. We all had fun, we all party, but like how you carried yourself in the classroom, those kind of things. Anyway, but that's my quick rant on that.
The Store Central is really good. I'm impressed with.
Site is great. I've been on it. Site is great.
Did you guys sign up?
I just signed up. Yeah.
I will. Based on your comments, I can probably. I know a guy that can help you guys get some access.
I just signed up. I just signed up.
And by the way, I think they retweeted this thing, and they have a ton of we have a ton of followers when this thing started. So we'll we'll
See,
continue to drive it.
this news is great. See, this is what we like. Dave and I had been looking for news, and there's not much on the website, but this is where all the news is.
Store Central will go. Store Central is
this
definitely one of those things that I think
Yeah.
is definitely going to ride the high and lows of winning.
Yeah.
That's just, obviously the collective part is a different. Obviously, all of it helps with winning, but those fan pages definitely ride the highs and lows of the more you win. Those things I think can take off exponentially.
Yeah.
And
No, we were talking about though the content in there that we hadn't seen a lot of content, and this is where they have a ton of content.
Yeah,
which I think is huge.
We do a ton of all of our stuff's behind the paywall right now.
Yes.
So the not the dilemma, but the law. And we started in March. There's going to be an entity, and there's going to be a YouTube page in front of the paywall. We have to have a channel, and we got to, and some of the stuff will first appear on behind the paywall, and then later be released behind the other. So we're kind of working through that right now, and would love your guys' thoughts on that too, because you guys do this for a living. So, but
that's where.
Listen, we have the thing that we offer that I can tell you no one else can offer is that we have incredible access.
Yes.
It's just incredible access to the coaches, to the players, to the administration. And they all want to help at a drop of a dime. Like if we called Coach Moore and said, hey, come on, like he comes on. Like it's just what he does.
Yeah, he'll do whatever he wants.
Athletic director will come on, like whatever, because he understands the value and long-term viability of having someone. Listen, we don't make any money on this. I lose money on this entity.
I know.
Me and this other guy, we literally we joke. We're like, it's the only business I've ever set up trying to lose money.
Yeah.
Like we're pouring money in. We have subscription money, and we give it to the players.
And that's all goes to the kids.
Right.
So that's listen. It's got to grow. We're half a year in, literally half a year probably today. Believe it or not. But it's got good content, and it's got great content. And the message boards we had like 400 comments during the game behind the message board on just people talking about internally about our game versus Buffalo. It's like, that's cool. Like guys are going back and forth. And there's a guy literally in my box there who is typing like responses. These people, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Well, so like we're trying to be interactive, and you'll see it this weekend, Steve. You'll be right there. So you'll see the whole operation.
The alumni. So I got on, and somehow I got away from what I was going to say, but the alumni from the game this past weekend. So they get on the phone with a bunch of guys I played with, and they're all hanging out in East Hartford, and they get on the phone and we're talking, and it was really interesting because I guess these guys were all captains, or most of them were. Some of them were captains. Some of them were just at the game.
Yeah.
And they were talking about alumni relations. And I'm going to tell you this firsthand. These guys are watching what we're doing because they brought up what, the stuff that me and Steve were doing. They brought up that you were on last week. These guys want to get on, by the way. Okay.
Of course they do.
Of course they do. So I want to try and, get more of these guys on because I think it's all good for what we're trying to do. But they brought on the alumni relations part of it. And obviously the guys who were captains enjoyed going out there for the game. I'm sure they had a great time. And Mike,
Mike was a captain.
Were you out there with them, right?
I believe it or not, I had a conflict that some of my daughter, I couldn't do it, but I was on the phone with a bunch of them too.
Yeah. So it was interesting hearing their thoughts. You know what I mean? Like the conversation about it all. Like guys came from far away, and they really want to be connected.
They do. They all do.
And they were excited about the game. Obviously, super excited. Some of them texted me next day. Oh, sorry, I talked to you. I had a few in me. I'm like.
What did I say?
I would expect no less. I mean, you went to Uconn. I'd expect no less. I expect if you were sober, I would have been shocked. I would have been disappointed. So, but they were so excited about the game. They were also asking a lot of questions about alumni relations and what's going on there and how do we, what do we have to do? What is going on here with this and that? And I thought it was really, really interesting because they're asking me, obviously, because I'm appearing with Steve on a lot of stuff. And then obviously, you were on last week. And but they want to be involved. The bottom line is they want to be involved. They want to have involvement. They want people to reach out to. And a lot of the conversations that we've been having publicly, you know what I mean? Out, obviously, we're talking about, live and on the internet. These guys are having privately. Yeah. So it's the same conversations. And I think it's really, really an exciting place. So, when when Steve started doing this, obviously, what you're doing with Bleeding Blue and with you, Store Central, and just pushing the envelope. Obviously, I'm looking at the numbers right now of people that are just watching it. It's mind blowing. This is
Mike's show from last week blew up every time I showed it.
I'm telling you, it's only going to grow. Like, I mean, this one is going to be like probably on its way towards 4,000 or 5,000 just from
the first showing.
Yeah. So just the first show. I mean, all together, it starts to get to 7, 8, maybe 10.
Yeah.
It really hits 10,000. But my goal is that like these shows start to be like when I had the Harvard coach on, okay, and the Princeton coach on, and they were at 100,000 views, right? Yeah. That's what I want to get these things to, where we're doing so well and there's such a level of interest. And the only reason Harvard, obviously my channel's big and that helps it, but what really helps is the Harvard alumni were probably watching those episodes. Just my guess. You know what I mean? Right?
And so we just started this too.
Exactly.
And a month old.
Exactly. Uconn now, people are starting to, okay, you know what? Like, this reach is big, but now we're having on people that from Uconn that people want to see. And I think that's an awesome thing. And obviously the play that they're having is going to only contribute to more people want to be. But those alumni that talk to me, and them all, we play with them all. So they were so inquisitive and so excited and wanted more. Like, it was the first time in a long time that I saw other guys really wanting more, to know more, and usually when I'm on the phone with guys on FaceTime, they say hi, they ask about your kids, we laugh about a couple of things, some maybe tell an old story or two. But this was like these guys were asking a lot of questions, and it was great because I'm like, okay, we're at the kind of beginning. You've been working on it for the last year really hard, but this is the beginning stages of where it can skyrocket. Like, our next step is, hey, how do we? And I said this to somebody. I said, and I said this to you guys also. When Uconn was and Rutgers were like rivals back in the day in the Big East, and where Rutgers is now, look at what Rutgers did this past weekend, right? It's not just alumni going to games. Kids on my son's team who did not go to Rutgers, they went to that game. You know what I mean? Like a dozen of them went to that game that night and watched that game, right? They were not alumni of Rutgers. They wanted to be involved with, so it stretches beyond. And I think what you said, Mike, is so important. Yes, great. Your friends, guys who played want to go. Tell them to bring their friends.
Yep.
Tell them to bring their friends who may not have gone to Uconn. There's excitement here in this. You live in the state of Connecticut, and you're interested in good football. Come on down and watch it, because it's going in that direction. And I think that's all. And honestly, I think just because of what Uconn basketball has been, as good as Rutgers is, they're good in basketball, and the Northeast is a big basketball area. We have greater potential in our football, I think, than Rutgers does. Okay.
Oh, easily.
Schiano is the catalyst for Rutgers. I always say, if Schiano is not there, then what? You know what I mean? Then what in Rutgers, right? Shiano is as dynamic as it comes. He's a phenomenal. Jim Mora, if he has success, okay, really has success, he will show and prove that you don't have to be from that area to be, which at first I was like, do we want a guy from the area that understands it? That's kind of always my thought process, the recruiting, which we talked about. There's obviously tremendous benefit from that. But if he can do it without being from the area, that means that we have a chance to be a national power, much like basketball does, which is different than being a regional power, right?
Correct.
That's definitely different. And that's maybe the opportunity as more advances and starts to shore up connections maybe among the Northeast, because you can get some great players and compete in that area. But the national presence of someone like Amora, that could end up putting us in a whole different stratosphere, very similar to where the basketball, and that's where I would make the relationship between basketball and football, is that basketball did that. Jim Calhoun was really the first person in the boys' side to go, Ray Allen was not from the Northeast. Jim Calhoun recruited nationally because New York City basketball was already entrenched in AAU, and you couldn't get guys away from Seton Hall, from Syracuse, from certain places, because those coaches were New York City relationships, and that's where at the time the hub of basketball was. And Jim Calhoun thought out of the box, grabbed the Ray Allen, grabbed guys, Donnie Marshall from Washington State, and Donyell Marshall from Pennsylvania, right? And grab guys from all. And Mora is doing that. And now you see what UConn basketball can do is not only can they recruit nationally, but they can also get New York City, quote unquote.
Yeah.
They can get the best guys from New York City. And that's what Gino started to do with the Sue Bird, who was from Christ the King, And that's the thing, that if we are able to take a guy who's really not from the area and he has success, we could be national and be able to recruit regionally like we need to and recruit nationally.
Yeah, and we are, and this, you make a great point, because we are nationally recruiting now through the portal. And that's the difference, right? It's like before, and I said it last time, like we're just getting access to individuals that would not have been here otherwise. And it's an incredible equalizer for us. And I think it's not an equalizer. I think we are strategically doing very well there. Like for other places, it's like, we'll do okay. We'll get some guys here. We'll lose some guys. Like, no, we want to retain what we got. Number one, that we really like, we want. And we have these. Jim is great. I'm telling you guys, I put him against anyone in this portal. Like, he is great because he has such a pedigree. He's done it on so many different levels at so many different places. And he can tell you, and he just, like I told you guys before, he doesn't have to be here. Like, he's got a great place out in the mountains there in Sun Valley. Like, it's awesome. Like, he's showing me pictures and videos. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd ever leave there if I was there. And he's like super active outside. You can see he's I think he's 63.
Yeah.
The guy he's ripped. Like, he's great. He does this because, man, he loves it. Like, he loves it. He's committed to us. He wants to make these. He wants to do it for the kids. Like, it's a unique guy. And I think to your point, Dave, like, he's a national thinker. He's a West Coast guy. He's a California guy. Went to school up in Seattle, Washington. So, like, you couldn't be further away from where we are right now. But it just works because of who he is. And I think to your point, like, it's the brand. Like, the brand is real. And
the brand is national too.
And it's really simple. The recipe is so simple. You just got to win. You just got to keep winning. We got to win. And winning big is great because you look, I mean, literally the ticker goes and people are just like, wow. It just catches them so off guard. And that's why, like, you put up 40, what do we put up? 48 and 47 back-to-back weeks.
Back-to-back, yeah. And then Merrimack 63.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for a couple busted plays, it'd probably been 63-0. Like, I mean,
we're averaging 55 a game. I mean,
there were 4 shockers this weekend for most people. I would say shockers. 4 dynamic things that happened in college football, and I think UConn was one of them.
Yeah.
Okay? UConn, when you saw that score, you were like, huh? Wow. Like, UConn's Colorado, I was like, wow.
Yeah, I was too.
Maybe Deion really does have it. Like, I was.
Oh, they won?
They were 14-point underdogs and beat them by what, 17 or something? It was crazy.
That was crazy. Obviously, the Alabama-Georgia game was just a phenomenal game. I was so impressed with the fact that the guy replaced Nick Saban as what he's done to Bauer.
Nice
and
job.
then the fourth one, I was shocked that Rutgers did what they did to Washington. To me, I mean, I was shocked by that. So it's interesting that two of them are right in our corridor, right? And UConn is really and maybe most people maybe in New Jersey they weren't that shocked because they've seen the evolution there. But I bet you if you asked anybody in the Northeast that did you expect UConn to have two back-to-back blowouts like that? Are they on the rise? I like everybody in New Jersey took note. The guys I just talked to, they knew immediately, right?
Yeah.
Is what you said, that ticker came across, right? And those were the four games that I was like, when I watched that Alabama-Georgia game, when I saw Kirby Smart running up and down the sidelines the whole entire game, like he hasn't been in a situation like that where he's like, oh my goodness. And Caleb DeBauer, how do you say it? DeBauer, how calm his whole entire staff was, and the shocking the fact that they beat Georgia in the way that they did. Like the fact that I'm having a conversation, I'm talking about UConn in the same breath as those things in football, man. That gets me jazzed up. And you could ask Steve. I was probably in a deep, dark depression after week one. Steve was like, "Hey, we're gonna be all right," and I was like,
no, I still wore the sunglasses and said Maryland scored again.
Yes, you did wear it. Yes,
he said he hated a 3-3-5.
I
want to be really clear on that.
That's true.
I will go on the record saying that I hate the 3-3-5.
But will you go on the record now saying that you love it?
I don't love it. They run it properly. I hated playing against it. I hated coaching against it. I hated playing against it. But yes, they run it well. They're doing a great job. They play explosive. They play with passion. I like that he mixes up the coverages. I like that he has 1,000 different blitzes. He does a great job. He's a future head coach.
When we have to do it. The thing that is important at this stage of where we're at is we need the offenses and defenses that get it done for the competition that we're playing against at this point, right? If we end up getting in a big conference and we start to face, I don't know, offensive lines that are averaging 6'5", 325 pounds, that may force Mara to he may not dissolve the 3-5-3, but to evolve the personnel that he brings in for the competition we play. Like, I think that's an important thing. Now, we want to get the best players we can, but one of the nice thing about the world today with flag football and all that kind of stuff is there is endless skill players, that are skilled and talented. And that goes for, slightly bigger safeties that become linebacker type guys, and there's endless of those guys. And from the time they're in youth, there's endless of those guys. The harder thing is linemen, which we seem to have been able to get. But there are, if you just recruit the right way and you get the right people for your program, meaning they have the principles that you have and the values that you have for your college program.
Yeah,
you get those skill players that have the right values for what you're trying to do. But I think you can get skill guys and a variety of them. And then if we get to a point where we're in a bigger conference and we're facing, giants all the time on the offensive line, I think, Steve, you may be right. We may have to evolve what we're doing defensively to fit that, right? It may not work, I don't know. If you have to face Alabama every week, that's a different story. But I think the good thing in what they are doing, and I see it now much better, is that they're evolving the recruiting as we are, right? And to win in what we're playing and get that job done at the same time that we're scaling up. Like, we're scaling up player-wise as best that we continue. And obviously Bleeding Blue is a big part of that, scaling up to what we need. But we have to play the competition that we're playing and be able to beat those guys. Because you know what? If we had, let's say we had huge defensive linemen,
yeah,
and we're playing the group of 5 schools I think that's what they call it still, the group of 5 schools. And they've got a lot of fast guys out in the edge. And because they can't get bigger guys either, they could outrun us. We want to have the right mix of players for the competition we're playing. That's how you see a group of 5 team like JMU run North Carolina off the field, right? They've got the right skill guys. They may not be able to get the size that North Carolina, but they got the right skill guys to outrun them. And so as we evolve the recruiting to what we're playing against, that will continue to evolve. And I think that maybe systems might evolve too at that time, but the players that we will get will continue to evolve. Am I right on that, Mike?
Yeah,
100%. And I think I just want to say one thing about the 3-5. He runs a 4-man front like 70% of the time. Yeah. So the adjustment made his be, listen, we're just going to roll this guy up constantly, against certain looks. And maybe that guy's got to look different than the guy today. Maybe he's got to be a little bigger. Maybe he's got to be a 250 instead of a 225 guy. Speaking of which, by the way, you remember what's his name? Kevin Hardy, the defensive lineman.
Yes.
That's his son on our team, by the way.
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah, that's the guy that had the pick 6 at Duke. And he had that one-handed sack this week against that quarterback.
Yeah.
So I said the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree there. But to your point, like, listen, that's the right methodology. Plan for what you got to fight right now. And this is year 1 of a system. And you can see the improvement from week 1 to week 5 with the system. And even the last, 3 weeks, throw out Maryland, but even the performance against Duke till now, we've gotten a lot better, a lot cleaner. You don't see the busted coverages. That's the thing to me that you don't see, and that just comes with time.
They get lined up right too.
Yeah. I think this defense has got even more room to grow, and these guys got to continue to learn the nuance of it.
Yeah, you can't sit in the 3-3-5. The way he's been doing it is fantastic.
Yeah, almost everybody that runs a 3-5-3 now. Really
it's a pressure-oriented
They
defense.
move the guy up.
Yes.
I'll liken it to when Nick Rapone was our we were a 4-3, but every time there was a tight end, the Sam linebacker, I rolled up as I was on the line. I was a defensive end essentially over the tight end, right? So that's essentially a 52, not a 43. Yeah. So
that's a defense,
Yeah, so the 30 becomes a 40, right? The 30, if a team lines up at double tight ends, those 2 hybrids, they may be a different guy. They're walking up as
they're walking down. Yeah,
they're just walking down. So that's kind of how you have to think about it, and then you have to think about it also in rotations. You get trips to one way, you may get a hybrid rolling back type of thing, or trips the other way, you may get a hybrid rolling back, or they may just bring in different personnel for that, right? But it's still what it does is if you're going to sit there and on the offensive line and you're going to be a big on big blocking scheme,
it doesn't work against
or you're going to flat gap. If you're going to gap protect from passing standpoint, you can get guys to get thrown off. You can force guys to slide protect, and even they're
doing that. But it gets bad matchups.
Correct. Yeah. And you're forcing the back on a guy you may not want him on, right?
Correct.
Side protection. Yeah. So that's what the 3-5-3, the pros of the 3-5-3, that's what it does do, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Your thing is always if, I don't know, we get to a big bowl game and we're playing I don't know, Michigan or something, and they line up with tight end over with a wing. And we're walking up 235. I get it when you're talking about that, but we're not playing a ton of that. So, we get to a point in the bowl game and we have to play a ton of that, or we get in a conference where we have to play a ton of that. Then that becomes a different recruiting scenario.
Hey, Burton, who's Biff Poggi?
Biff Poggi is the head coach at Charlotte.
Oh, okay. Somebody wanted me to ask you what happened to him at Charlotte.
I think he's still there.
Yeah, did he get fired? I thought
not that I know. I think he's still there.
The creator of St. Francis in Baltimore.
Yeah, he was. And he also went to Michigan under Harbaugh. He was kind of I don't know if he was. I don't know exactly what he did there, but he's the guy that's got the cut off sleeves.
Yeah,
He went to Charlotte. We just so you know, we do have 2 kids on our team from Charlotte.
Yeah, we do. I
Yep.
know we do. I know we do.
And Darrell, the running back, is from Charlotte.
Right.
And so
Right.
I don't know what's going on with them. I don't even know the record this year. But all I can tell you is the guys who came
It was a bad program.
are very happy to be here. That's all I'll say about that. But they're happy to be here.
So at the end of the season, will Morris basically sit down with all the players and you'll have an idea of who's coming back, if anyone's leaving, and how much money that you will need going forward for the transfer portal or for recruiting?
Yeah,
is that kind of how it plays out?
It's an everyday thing. It's
every day you're working on it.
Yeah, and I think we're going to meet in the next few weeks, probably the bye week, to go through kind of where everything is right now and do a State of the Union, and then there's a question about revenue share. Will there be revenue share this year? And that, a lot of that has to do with the case that's going on in court. So if there's revenue share, there'll be more money. So we're going to plan for kind of both scenarios and go through that. But yeah, it's basically like an NFL GM type of discussion with them about what, and they're, and then we're helping raise the money and kind of helping them with some of the nuance. Right.
And do you have an idea of how many players they would look to bring in this year based on who's, the people who are graduating and people who may leave? Like just an idea of
I don't know. I don't know because I don't know who's staying.
Yeah. Right.
But it's probably a number similar to last year, I would think. And depends how many freshmen you bring in versus transfers. Like you still got to have freshmen. Those are your culture guys that you want to train them from year one and to how to do this. So I don't know the exact number. I'll know more in the next few weeks.
Because I know last year it ended up being between freshmen and transfers was close to 60 new players. Yeah. They wouldn't possibly bring in 60 again this year.
You never know what's going to happen.
Do you think it could be high that every year it could be between like 40 and 50 every year new players between the portal and freshmen?
Well, I mean, you're going to lose a quarter of the guys, or maybe not a quarter, a fifth. You're going to lose of your 100 guys that you have on your roster. What is it, 85 scholarship?
Well, it's probably now.
Yeah, I think it just depends how large your upper classes are. But yeah, I don't know if it'll be that big, but it's going to be. There's going to be
going to lose
30 or at least, yeah.
I would think
you're going to lose 20 guys. This has nothing to do with the program or the state you're in. And I say it like this: if you're really good, you may lose 20 guys because guys who are behind them may be unhappy. If you have great culture, it's less of an issue. But you're going to lose some guys for a variety of different reasons. And then you're going to get 20 new freshmen every year, right? So that's 40 guys right there. And honestly, if you're a bad team, you're going to lose guys for different reasons. So it's just a matter of who you're replacing these guys with. That's the key, is the guys that you bring in, freshmen and transfers, that they continue to fit what you're looking to do. I think that's the whole key to the whole thing, because it's just
she had to cancel.
As much as you don't want to.
In the family.
Yeah.
Steve, put it in order for me. I'll take a cheeseburger with no. Oh, sorry.
You want a cheeseburger? Okay.
Yeah,
no, I'll put the order in.
Big Shack, actually preferable.
I was just curious about that. If they plan for 30 or 40 guys that will be coming in year to year, and then financially, I mean, how the projection of how that's going to look, because that's a pain. I mean, that's a lot to prepare for.
Yeah, and listen, we're going to raise as much. The number is not going to dictate how much we're going to raise.
No.
We're going to raise absolutely the maximum amount of money we can raise.
Absolutely.
Then we're hopeful that there's going to be rev sharing. We're hopeful because that'll help. Group of 5 has a real tough time with rev share. Like, I think most of these programs are not like fully funded to start out with, let alone giving. It's just the nature of the beast. There'll be some that can, but not many. So another advantage for us. So things to be determined. We'll know more in the next few weeks.
You know what I'm curious about is when we go to 105, when the NCAA goes
That's
to
what I was just going to ask him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Would we be
able to fund the 105 football scholarships? Because that's the roster limit now too.
Yeah, but I don't even know if the 105 is like. You think 105 kids are going to want to be on your team because not playing.
That's what I said too.
Yeah, like I think you're going to see. No, like 105. I don't know if we'll do that or not. I suspect we won't because I don't think it makes any sense because we talked about there's only 11 guys in the field at once, so like there's not enough for 100. Forget it. Now, if it's one thing, if you got a couple, and the problem is the younger kids. Some of them will stay, but others won't. They want to go. Like they want to go somewhere they can play. So I think that's like a max number that a few teams are going to hit. And remember, whatever you spend on that's going to come out of rev share. So you got to manage it. Like, do I want to spend? And I don't know what a scholarship costs. It depends on the school. Is it $50,000 a year?
Yeah.
You want to spend $1 million more?
Yeah.
You could probably put into 80 versus 100. Like this is the test everyone has to take.
Yeah, it's going to be the roster limit. Some teams may go to 90 or 95 and then take 10 walk-ons, or they may split the scholarships up. But it's going to be like coaches are pissed because they like having 120 guys on the team.
Sure.
Because, for scout team purposes and for whatever, and eliminating walk-ons totally would be a disaster. So I think there's going to be different methods in how they do it to maintain it, because I think 105 is ridiculous.
Yeah, everyone's going to do it differently, and they're going to see what works for them. I mean, can Alabama probably bring that on? I'm sure they're probably 100 kids.
But you're exactly right.
But they're going to be there for a year. They're going to be there for a year or two, and then they're going to say, "I'm never going to play here."
Yeah,
they're just going to have higher turnover. That's all. Yeah. That's what's basically when you go to 105. You're right. How many guys are actually playing in the game, right? So you're going to have 20 more guys that are likely to turn over that are on scholarship.
Yeah.
And I think you're also right that is Bama going to do it? Is Georgia going to do it? Absolutely. Are the group of five schools?
It's going to be tough to afford.
I don't know if it makes sense because you're right. You're just going to turn that group of guys over anyway. And you might be able to get creative and do some things that to get the players you need there to fill in those 20, even if it's walk on. If they're walk on.
Kids will still walk on. Yeah,
they'll have a chance to get a scholarship.
You remember we talked about this when the NCAA raised the limits. You remember which sport had the highest raise of scholarship?
Tumbling.
We talked about it. I don't even know what that is.
I don't even know. I didn't even heard of it.
I don't even know what it is, but that's what they went to. Tumbling has 60 scholarships now.
I think that's for the actors and actresses in California to be able to get.
Yeah.
Remember the whole controversy where they were buying scholarships or something?
Did you see the UNLV? One of the casinos offered to pay the $100,000 to the.
They did after.
They should have did from the get-go.
And they got shot down because you're technically not allowed to take money from a casino.
Really?
Yeah, you're not allowed to take NIL money from a casino or like DraftKings, anyone that does sports betting. But someone from the casino jumped in and was like, "I'll pay him whatever he wants. We're 3-0."
And by the way, they went out and they destroyed that team with the backup.
Yeah, they did.
Yep.
They did. Yeah, they did. And they said Saluka's already off campus, so there was no chance of getting him back.
That story is going to last. That's a quick story in and out.
Story. It's a quick story.
That's sad.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It's. I'm sure he'll land somewhere. So
it's going to be his 7th year. I'm pretty sure he was a 6th-year kid or a 5th-year kid. That's the whole reason he came. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was a 4-year player at.
We recruited him. Yeah, we recruited him at Holy Cross. I remember him. So
I'll say this: we've been on for a long time already. We've been on already for an hour and a half. It must be like the people must love this content because it keeps getting more and more viewers as we're on. It's pretty wild. I
got to interview your boy today, Wilbur
Gilliard.
Get
ready, buddy. I better hold on to your seat.
I got Wilbur. Yep, I got Wilbur, and then Trisha Bailey.
All right. Well, get ready.
Get ready.
Bailey.
Well,
that's going to be a fun one.
Any final thoughts for today, or?
I will say it on the record that I was wrong about the 3-3-5, and we can play it well and successfully. We have many different blitz packages and combinations. We disguise it well. I like that we play man behind it, which not a lot of teams do. A lot of teams play a soft zone. Playing man behind that kind of blitz is very, very difficult if you play it well. And offensively, I think that we have two quarterbacks who are capable and two quarterbacks who can win for us. I hope that Nick is healthy, and if it's not this week, he comes back after the bye week, and keep it rolling.
Yeah, to me, it's another step in the right direction. You just got to keep knocking these levels off, and that was an ideal type of performance, and they got to keep building on it week after week. Good to see all three phases perform. By the way, we didn't talk about it, but the punter was incredible. Like, a couple of those punts were inside the
Oh, they pinned him back. Yeah, he did a great job.
So, like, that's all. So to see all three phases come together is great. We just got to keep level-headed, keep going at it. And I'll leave you with this: winning solves all problems. Let's just keep winning.
Winning cures everything. Yep,
Yeah,
winning cures everything.
Does. Well, hopefully, when we do our preview of Temple, if you want to come back on, Mike, if you have time, you definitely add a great knowledge to the program. So,
and Dave, remember tonight we got our shows.
Oh, what do we got? What do we have tonight?
We got Moneyline.
Oh,
and Rebel Republic.
I'm ready for that tonight. By the way,
and it's gonna be.
I got some good stuff for that.
It's gonna be comments and questions. I'm gonna write them all down.
Well, let me tell you something.
You're gonna get roasted.
I've been watching some. I got some good content ready for that. I'm gonna
tell everyone that's why you shave your beard, because they said they complained your beard was a distraction. So Dave shaved his beard because everyone complained it was the distraction.
Well, he takes listener feedback very seriously.
Yes, he takes it very seriously. Yes, if Dave, Frank, and I walk down the streets of Worcester, I don't think we'd last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I disagree with you. I said this before. And Frank disagrees with you also.
Well,
first
Frank
of all,
always disagrees.
You two are both 6'5", so
yes.
So I don't think anyone's going to be arguing with you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Frank wouldn't open my doggy daycare. That's all I asked. I just wanted my doggy daycare. He's got the building.
Keep throwing oranges at him. And
I'm gonna get it. I'm getting it one way or another. He owes me the doggy daycare. It'll work. When that Smoking Gun Saloon, that country western bar, when you come, you're going to see it. I can't wait for it to fail. And then I'm going to tell him about it.
Wow, that's tough.
Yes, I'm going to tell him. I said, he's going to listen to me. Doggy daycares don't fail. And I have a great big business acumen.
I think you should just open a radio studio right in the middle of Worcester and keep the glass open and let people come in and heckle you while you do
he does. He's got a studio there. He has invited me he wanted me to come there. Yeah.
Live studio audience, I think would be
that would be great. I would love that.
Well, Mike suggested we should do the call-ins. So I gotta create a Google Voice number so we can take we can run it live and take call-ins.
Oh, that would be great. I'll laugh. I think I'll be laughing.
Oh yeah. I think you'll laugh for a minute, and you'll see the ire of some people.
Oh, I still will laugh because
still laugh.
Yes.
When they say that Frank's oxygen should be taxed because he wastes so much of it.
Listen. When you run events like I have all over the country, and parents, especially in the early years of doing it, and kids don't get an award. Or you don't pick them as one of the top guys. Believe me, I've had people curse me out to and I'm a big guy, all right? Like curse me out to my face, tell me I don't know what I'm doing, like wish very bad things on me. I have seen people attack coaches. I've seen it all. So
I know.
So yeah, that would actually probably be tame relative to some things that over the years that I've dealt with, and obviously most of it's great. But I could tell you stories upon stories of some crazy things.
Yes. Oh, and Tyler King is coming on. Just so you know.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Wait till you see this.
That'll be explosive.
Tyler says he's an expert in politics, and he wants to come on. So I said, Tyler, okay. So you are going to be thoroughly entertained by Tyler King trying to talk politics.
Could his father get thrown out of the Ring of Honor in the Patriots?
No. Tyler King would watch cartoons at 3 a.m. eating a bowl of cereal in college. We'd come out and he'd be sitting Indian style eating cereal at 3 a.m. watching cartoons. That's Tyler King.
That's awesome.
And he's insisting that he wants to come on and talk politics.
It'll be great. I'm excited to hear. I like hearing everybody's views. I like his views probably line up.
He can't put together a sentence if you listen to him. He struggles to put together sentences.
I think he's great. Listen, when I had him on, we had him on. I thought he was great. I thought he was great.
He is great.
I thought he was great.
He is great. He's a great entertainer. So you get to enjoy him tonight.
All right. Well, let's get off this podcast. An hour and 40 minutes went by in a breeze. So
yeah, it did. Do I get to say the line?
Yeah, go ahead. Go. We're waiting for you.
Oh,
this has been Husky Huddle. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges. Throw them back at life.